Hello, good evening, and welcome to BI7 Analytics. I'm Atul, and today we are basically going to discuss something which is right now on top of everyone's mind, right? Uh, are We are talking about AI readiness, and uh, this question is not only there for corporates, for companies right now, that whether they are ready for AI, their data layer is actually ready for AI. It's actually a question which is there for individuals as well. So I think that uh, there are few blocks which are fundamental to this question. When we say readiness, uh, then we are basically talking about that how good is our data layer. Is our data layer good enough to feed in to any kind of questions which AI raises, and it has to do uh, it has something to do with, in conjunction uh, with BI as well, with the data analysis as well. So I was always thinking that, where does uh, BI or data analysis stand with regards to this. So when we just say AI readiness, it's not in silo. No company can basically say that they are AI ready, without having a well um, designed or well formulated uh, layer of data underneath. So that underlying data layer doesn't only serve um, artificial intelligence related frameworks, but it also supports uh, your business intelligence or your typical data analysis frameworks as well, right? Um, so uh, and it's not that uh, you have to be too much data mature. The organization doesn't need to be too much mature. Their maturity index is not necessarily very high. It is very much possible, and in fact we see that that is the use case mostly, that young organizations, startups, they seem to be better equipped. Not, I would say, better equipped, but from outside it looks as if, because they are a startup, they would be their turnaround time for any kind of an AI solution would be much faster than big organizations. And uh, that's actually a notion wherein we say that big organizations are already too much into their data infrastructure, which are age old, and it would be pretty hard for implementing uh, AI tools and technologies which are like coming up at a very fast pace. We already know that every day there is something or the other in the field of AI which has come up, and and basically there is an anxiety around the top management that uh, how to cope up with this. So there are few fundamentals which I think I would like to talk about. So let's look at this. So if you look at this, I have just broken down um, the uh, the framework which can be applied, which we can look into. And it is primarily divided into two layers. We can just think of it as a foundation layer, which is all about readiness. And I have basically married it with business intelligence. And my thought process, or uh, my way of thinking, is that AI cannot reside in silo. It has to be, um, there are certain layers which are common between business intelligence as well as artificial intelligence. And I feel that 60 to 70% of the work before we get into delivering something on AI is already covered if we are doing uh, a good BI, right? And that goes along with what Anthropic just released last month, wherein they talked about and they laid that emphasis, um and talked really about that why organizations are failing in terms of implementing AI. And the primary reason which they found out, and I would emphasize on the word that they found out, was that the underlying data structure was not good enough, right? So what it delivered in the end, there are so AI is like placeholders, right? We see that there are a lot of automation agents we talk about. It can bring in data from here, it can get that information from there, but that information, if it is not relatable, if the data quality, underlying data quality is not worked upon, it lies flat. And when they are delivering something out of that, a chatbot giving answers on your sales predictions, a chatbot um, basically interacting with end customers, you give it to your customer support and they are dealing with them. We have heard a lot about policy chatbots and all that. So it's good that we are trying to understand or cover uh, the the understanding of data from a very top perspective. We are putting the placeholders, but when the actual agent basically digs out that data, right, the context, the meaning, the relationship, all of that has to be uh, top notch, right? It just can't be that we just point out uh, AI to certain layers, certain silos, and allow it to fetch data from there without setting up boundaries, setting up definitions, making it understand the relationships. It's very difficult. So it would say that whatever stuff we are doing for business intelligence, where we are manually understanding and correlating the data sets, the relationships, we are manually designing the business model, the semantics, the semantic layer, the semantic model, uh, that holds true today as well, right? So having said that, I would say that the foundation layer, irrespective of whether we are building it for AI or BI, has to be the same. It has to be on a common data architecture. So if you look at this, I'm talking about a foundation layer here, right? And the concepts of discovery, data preparation, semantic layers, KPIs, governance, all those hold true for both BI and AI. And my way of thinking is that it can branch out, right? It can branch out later into whether you are answering a BI question or an AI question. So, for example, a chatbot which is answering questions related to the past or historical data doesn't need to be doesn't need to have uh, an understanding or AI enablement to it. It can be straight away answered through a BI layer, right? We already do it when we plug in Power BI to our semantic layer. It answers the actuals, yeah, right? And the same thing can be done by AI. So basically, context, when we are asking a question, it has to understand whether the context is related to actuals and it moves into that direction, and whether the context is related to some kind of a prediction, it will move into that direction. So both of them are possible, and it can only happen if we have a good foundation layer. And with that, if you look at this, once you have the foundation layer prepared, right, once you have the foundation prepared for it, then I would say that you should have a delivery layer, right? This delivery layer can be a case by case basis and can be enhanced accordingly. So you have built your foundation data warehouse semantic layer, and then you can say that, okay, for the next 2 months or 3 months, I would like to concentrate only on one domain, which is sales, and would like to prepare a chatbot which answers, which solves a certain problem, right? We are not going to get a one shop solution for this, but yes, we can build up a chatbot which basically can be as simple as every day in the morning, um, a salesperson who is on the field gets to know the actuals of yesterday or month till date, and that can be through accessing the bi layer, and also gives him a target, right? Or how much uh, basically he can achieve today. That can be done through a prescription which comes out of the AI layer, right? And it can also do a comparison between the actuals and the prescription, right? Both of them can be tallied together. So basically it can say that, okay, you are falling short by say 2 lakhs for your monthly target, because the actual is this much and the target is this much. And then it accesses the unstructured layer or certain information from the outside world to come up with some prescriptions and say that, okay, in north region, since you are a good salesperson and have knowledge on electronic goods and you have done well in this, there is an opportunity which lies in this area. So why don't you target and start calling up people or distributors in that region? So that can be a prescription and a very good output which an AI agent can provide. So two things would happen here. First of all, when it accessed the actuals, it is not giving a wrong picture, right? It's not giving a wrong information that this is how much sales you have done till date and this is how much short you are falling from your target. And secondly, so that gives one level of confidence. Moment it fails on the very first attempt of providing the actuals, then giving a prescription later on doesn't really matter. So how this happened? Because we have built a strong foundation layer which is solving both the bi as well as ai related queries. So with that confidence, when it gives a prescription or a recommendation to a salesperson, half of the job is already done. And uh, and the good thing about recommendations and prescription is that it doesn't need to be right, because it's something which will happen in the future. So it's up to the salesperson to whether pick that up, those prescriptions. And the best part is that if on the ground he has certain knowledge wherein this prescription won't work, there and there itself the feedback loop will start, wherein he can start chatting with the agent and tell that no, there are certain government policies which restrict the sales of electronic items in this north region. And the agent when can basically respond back by saying, oh, I didn't know that, and take that information, put it back into its knowledge base, and that can be used and accessed later by the same person or someone else. So it is actually feeding back the real time information. So so and that is what we are seeing right now, right? So most of the ai agents, they are answering, they are giving some output, but then the confidence goes down if it is validated against the actuals, and there itself it fails. So then that is what is happening in most of the organization. I see that they are not built on top of good foundation, good data foundation. And that data foundation, there is no rocket science or a different architecture which is there. it is the same data architecture, the age old architecture which we have been following in business intelligence. The use the normal workflow where we have data discovery, data foundation, semantic layer getting created, governance getting created, you know and that has enabled our BI, our Power BI and reporting stuff. So if it can enable, if the first I would say four steps which you see here: discovery, foundation, semantic knowledge, and governance. If it can enable BI, it can very well enable AI as well, right? AI additionally would require use case specific controls. It would require access to real time information. It would require access to unstructured data to enter into the realms of prescription and predictiveness, right? Predictive analysis. That is what BI cannot do. It will just answer on the basis of these four layers. It would just answer the actuals. So if you just do this, it would fail to answer questions wherein you are asking for suggestions and all. But moment you give the access to the additional layers which I talked about, it becomes a complete package, BI plus AI, delivering insights, right? And that is what is actually required. Now this is a very high level framework or a flow which we can apply. uh, and 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 the best thing is that it can be replicated because your underlying foundation layer has been prepared. Once you have completed the sales domain, you can enter into other domains like HR, finance, procurement, and start delivering a complete package. So once this is there, you can you can call yourself to be AI ready, I feel, right? Right, where you are giving predictive, prescriptive, automated, and intelligent and trusted um, output, right? So see, I would just give you a small example. Whenever you right now talk with organization, they just jump into, oh, I'm preparing a chatbot, right? Moment you say chatbot, oh, it's somewhere this guy is doing something on AI, I think, right? Yeah, chatbot, given a small, notepad with some text, uh, you can spin off a chatbot in a day, right? It would start hallucinating. It would start being of no use if you start, asking it questions uh, which are comparative in nature, which are deeper down, which are which has some relationship. So simple example, okay, these are the return figures. These returns are of which invoices, right? And these invoices are of which product. So those kind of questions cannot be answered just by having a small notepad, having that information inside it, right? So what is important here is uh, that we come out of that notion of just having a chatbot and basically get into the architecture, the foundation part of it, understand the layering, and and as I said, that it's not a rocket science. We don't have to build something unique for AI. It is already there, covered with our business intelligence or a good data layer. So the age old aspects of data lake, data warehouse, data marts, dimensional modeling, star schema, relationships, that just have to be enhanced with some kind of a richness, right? And those richness can come with giving it definitions, giving some indexes and some ratings, related columns, addition of those into data mart. So for example, you can imagine that you have a customer profile, a customer table, which has got information about all the customers in your organization. It would have your typical information, customer address, phone number, and all that. But if you have a list of, say, 100 customers, you can't really say which one of them is good, bad, or ugly, right? Moment you start relating it with your facts, with the amount of business they have done with us, yes, you would get some sense of quality. You can rate them that, okay, this customer is higher, this customer is lower. But that is only the relationship with you and that customer, right? What about the opportunity? Maybe they are doing just 0.11001% of the business with you, and outside that domain, they are a big player. How do you access that? Okay, those sort of questions will not come up looking at just at that table and only the fact, right? So if you allow an agent to basically come up with certain attributes which are AI ready attributes. So I would say that right now, we would like that whichever customer we are dealing with, they themselves are, um, you know, uh, into the modern architecture, and they themselves are doing something in AI, uh, in green energy, all the futuristic technologies, whether they are working with semiconductors, whether they are working with the uh, solars and solar energy and things like that. And we are dealing with them, suppose, with only with conventional, providing them stationery and stuff. We would definitely like to know that where they are going, what is their market capitalization, what is their revenue, and their you know uh, spread across the geography. That kind of information can be accessed through enabling a separate layer and enriching our data mart with those additional attributes. I always say that there is a data mart or a data warehouse which just talks about the data points available in our system, and then there is an entire universe of rich attributes which are outside. Your agent goes once and uh, looks up and builds up its knowledge around it, and gives you that ranking or a value uh, once a week. So you can imagine that this kind of a customer table having a column such as semiconductor readiness, right? Semiconductor readiness, and you look at that column and you find 92% in against a customer. Against a customer you find it 20%, 30%, right? So an agent which is basically answering a query that whether I would like to market and sell semiconductor conductors in north region, will be just able to access this table and understand that yes, there are 13 customers which have got a semiconductor readiness rating greater than 90%. Why don't you approach them, right? Okay, rather than our agent going at real time and then scraping the net and understanding the context. That will be a whole lot of big work. Okay, that is one architecture which can be followed, but a more efficient architecture would be that the relevant rich data points are captured and updated from time to time. If we can have it slowly changing, weekly updated once, and that enhances the profile. It not only helps the AI chatbot, but these kind of questions can be used in your BI framework, wherein you can give the top 10, top 5 directly on Power BI. So I think that the world is moving towards it, towards that kind of an architecture. And if this can be followed, this can be implemented, it's an easy modern day data architecture, I would say, which basically helps a data team which is already mature in business intelligence to adapt AI as well. Thanks for joining in. Thanks to be live with me, and hopefully we were able to discuss and talk about this concept. We'll be talking about similar kind of things later on as well. Thank you very much.